Hey, what's up good people? Welcome to another episode of Pwned. We are back at this angle. Well, kind of back at this angle. It's the usual background that you guys see now. I've tried different setups for both this channel and my average Singaporean channel, and the general feedback is that the angle that you guys previously saw was a little bit too dark, so I guess I'm gonna have to embrace the mess in the background and try and mask it a little bit by raising the camera angle up a little bit, and I'm standing up and stuff, so hopefully this works out a little bit. I still want to keep this light over here because I think it's quite YouTuberish. I don't know, I think it's quite cool in terms of aesthetics, so yeah, hopefully this is not going to be as dark as the previous videos. I also did some research on how to adjust the exposure settings in my camera, so hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully this will work out a lot better as well, like the color settings, the exposure settings, the shutter speed, things like that. So hopefully it's going to result in a better quality output. Anyway, you guys read the title. This video is about the Cyber Ninja by JSPB that I received about a week ago, and I actually took my time assembling. But if you notice, the full length of the video is actually quite long, and that's because, well, I wanted to make a full length or a long form video on the assembly process, but I gotta say that really took a little bit too long. Those of you who've actually watched Wallcom's video on this thing would have seen that he mentioned he took about 4 hours to complete the assembly of this, and I took about the same amount of time. Now, it was on JSPB's website that they estimated that the build time was going to be about 2 to 3 hours. And for me, one of the biggest draws of JSPB's blasters is the build portion of it. I really love assembling this thing, building the whole thing. That whole process is really therapeutic, and it's really interesting because you really get to see the brains and genius and the mind behind the thoughts and all the engineering process that goes into the blaster itself. Now, of course, the assembly portion of it is part of the entire experience of the blaster itself. But I guess I approached the build process from a more laid-back, therapeutic, relaxing sort of angle, but boy was I wrong. I was thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna finish this in about 3 hours, might split it up into a couple of days, but no, I actually went 4 hours into it and I still had not finished it, and then I ran into some hiccups. There were some problems here and there, and well, halfway through, let's just say that what I thought was a vital part actually broke on me. So I just want to let you guys know that we're going into a sort of quick cut installation video, not really a tutorial, but it's not really that short in the first place because I really wanted to get some nuances in there, some of the things that I felt, the emotions that I felt, some of the frustrations I guess as well, and just basically to kind of give you guys an overall feeling or overall example of my experience building this thing. And that part alone is longer than 30 minutes. So for those of you who are not interested in that part, please check out the timestamps below. You can just browse through the video and then you can find a spot that you want to really just watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys that right now, and then I'll come back after and then tell you guys what I did after to get myself the completed build, and then give you guys a quick firing demonstration, my thoughts on this thing, and then we'll end the video. So as we jump into that part, make sure that you get a drink, go get some snacks, and I will let you pause the video right now because I know you guys want to go get it. It's long, it's a half an hour thing, so yep, here we go. Hey guys, I received this package here from JSPB, and this is the Cyber Ninja. You know what? I just want to build it as soon as possible. At the same time, I want to try this different camera setup, so I'm on the opposite side of where the camera is instead of the usual where the camera is from my POV. I also don't want to be doing a very long build video. I know that Tungsten is a fan of long build videos, so I thought I'd just sit down and record the entire assembly process and kind of narrate things along the way. I spent quite a lot of time watching the installation videos that Sling himself has posted on the JSPB website. I've taken a look at the V1 and the V1.1 manuals, so I think I roughly have a good idea of what to expect. So I guess the assembly is gonna start by showing you guys what to expect in the box. There is an instruction manual, and it's a very beautifully done, well-detailed manual. You guys know, right? JSPB with the beautiful instructions. I'm sorry, I'm fumbling here, but yeah, a parts list. So I think this also serves as a kind of a packing list for Sling himself, because every single time he puts a packet in, he just checks a box here. And so we could also use that to compare. So that's really, really nice that this is in here as well. So I'll just unload everything. so that you guys can see. And there is an extra bonus item, and this is a foam shuriken. There are a total of 4 designs, and I've got this cool looking one. And he says that this is a free gift for anyone who purchases any of these Cyber Ninjas. Thank you, Ziling. 非常感谢. Now that I have this checklist here, I'm going to be cross-checking with it, with the spring and long screws and stuff. Yep, so I've got the first packet down. Second looks to be the plunger rod and the Rasen piece. Yep, so I've got this packet as well. So this is the pistol grip area. This is the one with the gasket and stuff. So I've got this packet here. Oh, this is going to be the scar. So I believe that this is the first thing that we're going to be assembling. I don't know what these are, like trigger pieces? No, this is going to be like some kind of a connector piece, I suppose. Yep, there's some kind of arms. This is the one. Yep, so I've got this piece as well. 2 packets of screws. These look like the side arms, and this is the trigger as well. And the last one is the I guess this is like the grip, the front grip, the plunger rod itself, and some cork here. Yep, it uses cork to seal up the chambering area, which is interesting. And then you've got a bit of lube in here. Looks like I've got everything. I'm gonna put this piece of paper aside. So now you can see everything here, all these individually packed. And I love the fact that JSPB always takes the time to pack all these things into separate packets, because yeah, it's really neat and it's really easy to refer to when you're assembling stuff. So I like that a lot. Good job. Now he does have some recommended tools. There are also tools that he suggests to use. And the first thing is this hammer. I know that he requested for a mallet or a rubber hammer. I don't have one, so I have this. I'll have to use something to pad it later on. This is for a very specific use, so I'm going to put this aside. Next up, I have a pair of pliers, and these are actually to replace the wrenches that he actually suggested you use. So yeah, I don't have access to a wrench right now, so I'm just going to use pliers, and you'll find out why in due time. Screwdrivers. So I've got a long Phillips head here in yellow. Then I've got a standard length Phillips head here, as well as a flathead screwdriver in case I need it. Next up is a pair of wire cutters. On top of that, I have a pen knife with me, Swiss Army knife Victorinox SAK Classic, because I want to use the knife here. It's a small little knife attachment, and you'll find out why. Pair of scissors, e-tape if I need. Got a bit of sandpaper for some minor finishing or cleaning up. This one here is 220 grit, and this one here is 1000 grit, and I don't care about anything in between because I'm not going to use it, so yeah. And then we have a ruler, because you'll need to be measuring some stuff to cut, in particular the cork for the seal or the pusher. I have a marker. You could use a Sharpie. I mean, I do have a Sharpie here. What? How rare is that? This is the first time a Sharpie is actually ever shown up on my channel. What? And I guess let's just start. Mark out the lines with your Sharpie. Oh no, wait. Oh wait, these things have been reamed out really nicely. Okay, they've been reamed out already, so I don't have to do any more reaming. That's awesome. So I've marked it out. Looks like there's 5 markings. Oh, this is tougher than I thought. Did I do a good job, guys? We are supposed to cut up 5 15cm lengths of this fishing line. Alright, so 15 centimeters, here we go. How the hell is this so tough that my knife can't even cut it? Maybe just that my knife is blunt, I don't know. Oh my goodness, am I just ruining it? I think I am. What the hell? Man, you'd think that I'd be a lot better at this for all the years of like modding I've done. I'm actually struggling just to cut string. What is going on? Yep, I needed to use a really sharp knife to do that. My goodness. Should have 5 string pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I do. Oh my goodness, guys. That took so long. What the heck? What you could technically do is just tie these strings for the scar and then just wrap some e-tape around it. But there also is a pro or a more difficult way that Sling did it. That seems to be a little bit more secure, but he uses a ratcheting pipe cutter, and I don't know why I can't find it. So that's the reason why I have this knife out. And I will be using this to make cuts here so that it would help me hold the string in place. Then I could e-tape it down. So I'm just going to do this really slowly. And guys, if you're handling a knife, please make sure that you be careful. Okay? So yeah, I made like a small indent there. I'm going to repeat the same thing for all 10. 5 on top, 5 below. Fingers are going to be tired, but what the heck, right? Oh my god, I'm finally done, like after half an hour just to cut this shit. Okay, so anyway, line the first one up and you can string it through, and then what you want to do is you want to induce a spin. So I'm gonna have to put it one notch to the side. Yep, so it should be like that, see? Let's just keep going. Okay, I've got all 5 here, and then some came loose at the bottom, so you know what, I'm just gonna e-tape this part first. Well, it looks like I'm done. Finally, fucking 40 minutes in, I'm done with this thing. Now's the time when I'm gonna put on my safety goggles. Make sure that you put yours on, and I should have done that earlier, but you know, I don't think anything's gonna fly out of that scar barrel, right? So, yep, safety goggles on. Looks like we are starting with this part first. Seems like it. Wow, that piece really flew. What the hell? What? Everything's just flying away. What the heck? So yeah, guys, make sure you wear your safety goggles. See, that's important. I'm done with cleaning this area up. Now I'm gonna clean this part up. And this seems a bit tricky because there is some stuff that I don't know if I'm supposed to cut away. I gotta cut the bottom and I gotta cut just the middle part. So just to emphasize, you gotta cut the bottom here and you gotta cut this middle part. And you gotta leave these two here, even though they look like, you know, like things that you want to remove. So just make sure that you leave this and this, and you cut just the middle part. The 3D print quality on this one doesn't really look that fantastic. It's got a bit of these like bumps here and there. I mean, if you just glance at it, it looks fine, but you know, if you really take a look at it, yep, print quality isn't the best. We need screws now. L size screws. So let's see. L. Okay, so these are called L. There's no M size screw. So just large, small, extra small. I don't know what to do. Well, this looks so different. Wait, what's going on? So this goes in, and now this. You know what? Let's check. Oh, okay. What? Okay, so I'm supposed to cut this. It's supposed to be 2 separate pieces, and then we're gonna drop this whole thing in this orientation with the tooth facing this way. Drop it into this slot right here with the tooth like that. So yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Sling actually shined the light through here, and then he peeped down this slot, the magwell slot, and he got rid of flash and whatever. So I'm gonna do that as well, because there is a little bit of pieces sticking out. Oh wait, I removed it with my own finger. What the heck? You know what I should do? I should grab myself a Talon mag. It looks like it's supposed to go in this way. Yep. Oh, that's quite smooth. Okay, so I guess that's that. Don't have to worry so much about that. There's a part here that sticks out, and then on this part there's a recessed area here. That's where the screw on this part of the top half of the blaster is supposed to sit. So that's why here it's flat. So the flat side goes here, and then the screw side goes into that groove right there. Oh, that's quite perfect. Okay, so the thing is, I have to make sure that the spring sits and stays in here in this slot. So I'm gonna have to, okay, the spring sits here and it goes underneath this white nub here. So I'm gonna have to install this like completely flat down vertically. So I don't think I can do it at an angle to show you guys, but here goes nothing. Looks to be taking shape. This seems actually a lot bigger than I thought. Fixing up the plunger rod. This part we actually need a hammer, so plunger rod with hammer time. Let's go. We have to make sure that we hammer this and this down, and it has to be completely flush. So there are a bit of whiskers here. Okay, I'm quite surprised. It seems that there's a lot of whiskers in the print. I'm gonna have to pad it so that I don't do too much damage, and then lightly tap it in. I've got a piece of leather here, and I'm gonna have to do this off camera because it's in a weird position. Yep, that looks good. It's not only just friction fit, but it's also being held in by 2 screws, one on each side. Just a bit of whiskers here. Okay, the spring sits on this groove here. That's kind of like the spring rest or the spring guide. I like that. It's perfect. And then we gotta get this piece and make sure that the whiskers again. Make sure that the thinner lip sits on the outside. That's going to be flush on the back. So, yep, like that. Nice. So the guides are all in place. That's pretty awesome. Oh no, so much whiskers. My goodness. You know what? Sling actually shared that you could use a lighter. Yeah, it actually works. That looks so much better now. Yeah, I should have did that from the start, man. What the heck? So now that it's installed halfway, I just want to quickly tell you guys about this thing. So you've got the trigger sitting in the middle, right? And you got one webbing on your left side and one webbing on the right side, and you won't go wrong because the right side actually has a negative marking here, but it also has a hexagonal shaped nub that goes into a hexagonal shaped slot on this half, so you won't go wrong with that. Haha! How cool is that? Look! The trigger works. I mean, if I flick it, it's gonna fly out like that, but this works. Oh, there's some whiskers here. Oh man. Okay, I guess I'll have to just use the lighter to kiss the entire blaster later, but yep. It's good. This is good. Now we've got to get the plunger head piece, or the plunger rod I should say, and then we got to make it smooth. I've watched Sling's video on this part, and what he does is he basically just runs it through, and then he keeps on running it up and down just to make sure that he shaves off whatever extra bits there are to make sure that it's smooth. And we are talking about this piece here, and I apologize, it is not the plunger rod. This is the dart pusher, right? The one that chambers the darts in and pushes it into the breech. There we go. Oh wow, this thing is rough. What? Okay, it is rough. So this is what Sling was doing. He said do this a few times to make sure that it's smooth. And you can actually see some of the grey filament from the back actually rubbing off onto the the rod itself, the pusher piece. I think it is relatively smooth now. Oh, right at the back it's not. Oh, okay. So I have to pull it further back. What? There we go. This is much better now. Okay, so you just have to make sure that you pull it all the way to the back, and then you get that action going just to kind of smoothen it up. Okay, sick. Here we go, we've got the priming handle. I'm really bothered by the whiskers, man. It's quite a lot of whiskers. This is the part where you're going to have to apply some pressure onto the plunger and hold it in place while you install some screws here. Sling did share that you could install some screws here halfway through, midway, so I think I'll do that. These are the small size screws, so I guess I would just take cue from that. Install one screw midway through, make sure that it doesn't really protrude out on the slot on the inside. I'm just going to take a peek, right, kind of like that. So I've got the screw installed this much in, and then just make sure that it's a slot all the way through. Can you guys even see that? Yep, just make sure that it's still really clear, relatively clear enough that this rod could still pass through inside. So that's the important thing. There is a groove on the rod on one side. There's a channel here, and make sure that this channel is lined up with the side where you install the screw onto the handle. You gotta get this and install it in, and then push it out the back. See, like that. So you gotta push it out the back, and then with that slot there, you're gonna have this screw that goes in like that. Yeah, that's right. And so now I'm going to install the first screw all the way down. There we go. Okay, so now it's down. So it won't come out. Now I've got to install the next one. So I have to push this in even further. The reason why he installed the screw that is closer to the blaster itself is because you don't have to apply that much pressure. It takes a bit less strength for you to kind of hold it in place, but now you're gonna have to put even more pressure because you're installing the second screw. Just makes the installation slightly easier. Let me just install this midway. If you guys are wondering, I'm actually holding it down with my thumb, just like that. Now I have to install another screw. What is this? Install an XL size screw into this slot here, because this is going to be acting as a trigger lock or a safety lock. Yeah, it does seem that it's going to be in the yellow slot. So yeah, so I confirm that it is this slot right here in the middle. That's your safety, because it prevents the trigger from moving up. That makes sense. Oh, I like the fact that he made this so easy. I've got this in. Now the trigger is being blocked by the screw here, and I'm supposed to pull this until it clicks. Do some stuff with the blaster in its primed position. So now what is going to happen is we are going to start installing the guide. Okay, so that's cool. Let's just do that. There we go. So that's a click. See how this thing can actually move up and down now, even in the primed position. It rides along the plunger rod. String is going to be acting as a guide as you chamber your darts. I have to apologize beforehand. I know this is going to be difficult for me to capture on camera, but I think that the instructions are actually quite straightforward for this. And yeah, you guys can actually also watch how Sling himself does it. You've got the string strung up here, and it's got to go in this slot now and out the front. You need this guy, the guy that you use to help you string the scar. Don't lose this. Leave this aside again, and let's do the tricky part. Okay, so this is going to be the trickiest part in my opinion, and it is getting the seal right for the piece of cork. So first you got to get this piece, and this piece actually has an O-ring here installed. Now Sling initially didn't realize that he already had the O-ring here. He thought that he forgot to add it into the kit, so he actually sent a replacement O-ring out. And then when I received this, I said, hey look, the O-ring's here. He's like, oh well, then you'll get an extra O-ring. So yeah, just make sure that you have this in place, because this is going to be needed for sure in terms of performance. If you have a thin piece here, right, and it looks like this slot is just way too small, that's because it is way too small. You gotta get rid of that. Okay, I've got this cleaned up already, but during the process of cleaning it up, I realized that there was a black O-ring inside this area. So I don't know how this was constructed. I think he actually printed it till midway, then installed installed an O-ring in the middle, and then it continued the print from there. There seems to be some kind of a pattern in there. This is what he calls his rasen system, like spiral in Japanese, and I don't know how this thing really truly works, but I gotta say that I'm quite impressed with the quality of just this area. The whole make of it, the print and everything. I think this one particular piece is done really well. Now comes the tricky part. So you have a piece of cork, a rubber cork, not like cork. So you're supposed to get it, and with the part that you kind of just cleaned up, or I just cleaned up, you want to insert it like that, and then make sure that it is like of a good fit, not too tight and not too loose at the same time. So once you get a fit that is quite okay, because this is going to be the seal, right, you want to cut it off. You want to cut the excess part off. So I've got it like this much. So this is where your penknife comes in, and then all you have to do is just cut it straight off. There we go. That looks clean enough. So you can use a screwdriver or use a pen or something, and clearly my screwdriver is not long enough. I'm going to use the other one. So just push this out on the back. And now with the remaining piece, right, this piece, so how much we've cut off at the back, we're going to throw this bit away. Okay, that goes out of the picture. And with this remaining piece, we got to measure about 1 centimeter from where you cut, and you want just 1 centimeter of that, and then you throw the front away, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, I'll just mark it with my Sharpie so I know it's the 1 centimeter mark. Okay, so like I said, you want to cut off the front and you want to keep the middle piece. But if you screw up, well, fret not, there is an extra piece of one of these rubber corks in the package as well. Mark out the exact middle spot, and then you're going to install a screw through that, and this is going to be the self-tapping screw. Use a ruler again, and let's draw out the center point. Yep, that's the middle point right there. And then grab your self-tapping screw and just kind of tap right in the middle. Make sure you keep it straight. Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. There we go. Yeah, it seems centered enough. According to his video, when you look at the back, you don't want excess sticking out on the side. So I've got a bit of excess here. So that means that there's a possibility that this might be a bit too thick. I might have to cut this down from the back, but I don't know till I just try it out first, I guess. We're gonna hold the string up and then install this with the nub facing the top, by the way. Okay, so now it's out the back, and you could see the cork piece moving inside here. Right, now that that's done, you have to start to move this up and down. What? That is tight. Okay, so we just gotta keep doing this, and it says please look at the cork, and I'm like, what am I looking for? I don't know, but I'll just hold this string up and around, and I'll just actuate this till it is smooth. Oh, it's getting smoother. Alright, okay, that feels quite smooth now, I think. Oh, that's quite smooth already. Remove the safety screw. Deprime the blaster. Okay, so that's that. We need to get 2 of those self-tapping screws, and we gotta install the self-tapping screws in there. It feels weird, guys. Like, it feels like something's wrong, because it seems like this is kind of short. There's a lot of extra space in between. Doesn't feel Right, basically I took the leap of faith and then I just installed the screw as far as it could go, and then yep, now it's completely tight. So when you guys reach this particular part, make sure, okay, just take your time and install the screws all the way in, because you really need that seal that is sitting right here at the bottom. So these two have to be absolutely tight. O-ring now goes onto the plunger head. It says that now we should install the safety pin again. Now that I've lubed everything up, it looks like I have to install the plunger tube into the plunger head and into that slot over there. And after doing that, you're supposed to make sure that the O-ring stays in a correct perfect circle, because I think that the O-ring's a little bit loose. So let's just make sure that this doesn't, yeah, O-ring's wanting to misbehave. Eyeballing it right now, it looks like this is okay. Yep, it looks okay. So make sure that you eyeball it just to make sure that the O-ring sits alright. How far back should the plunger tube be sitting? Oh shoot, it says right there, don't push the pipe in too much. Damn it guys, I just did what I'm not supposed to do. This is a silly mistake on my end. Make sure that you guys don't make the same mistake I did. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it at about just this length here. This looks like about 3/4 of an inch, and then now just actuating it like that, just so you could spread the lube in there. String the string through this particular piece here. Okay, so now I've strung this through. Okay, I'm kind of stuck. I gotta get some extra pieces, these super long bolts right here, and make sure that you have the respective nut. Oh, these are the nylon self-locking nuts, so that's cool. This is gonna be interesting where you install the bolts and then you remove it later on and then you put a washer in. Maybe this is for alignment issue, I don't know. Just grab it this way, wrap my ring finger and pinky around the plunger tube and then prime it. There we go, so it's primed now and there's no way for me to release it. I basically undid the string, did I? Yeah, I undid the strings, what the heck. I do have to manage a string as well. This is tricky guys, like this is trickier than I thought. I have to manage a spring, and this blaster is now primed with the plunger tube that's kind of floating. The nubs here actually slip into these slots on the main body. I'm just gonna put the bolt like that through in here. There we go. So it should look like this guys. See, now the string came out again. God damn it. Make sure that the string is all going through relatively taut. Slide the trigger in between this trigger grip here, line up that slot there, move the two bolts back and make sure this goes in there, push it back in like that. There we go, there we go. This is what it should look like. Tighten these bolts down with these self-locking nuts. I know that this part is something that we're going to have to remove later, so just tightening by hand so it's easier for me to remove later. So there are two slots here on the top of the lip, this yellow lip there. Not so sure if you guys can see that, two slots. So you got to string one of the strings through, one of each respectively, and then you want to string that through a slot here and here, and then bring that all the way out. So left and right string respectively, and then you got to screw in one of those small screws, and then we can clean the excess string up. So this will be holding the string all taut to help to guide the darts into the chamber. Well, the whole thing is coming together quite nicely. I'm actually quite happy with my progress so far. I've taken way longer than I expected. I initially planned to just like take maybe 2 hours, and Sling himself was saying that this is estimated to take about 2 to 3 hours. But we're almost at the 4-hour mark. It says that now we have to test fire. So I got to load a dart and then just squeeze the trigger and see that it fires nicely. Before undoing these two again, I have a Stefan here. Just gonna push it in. Don't use your index finger because it could get stuck. So use your pinky, and I'm just pushing it in. I don't know how far I have to push it in. Remove the trigger lock. And then I gotta push this to close it. It says that it should be firing out at about 60 to 75 FPS. I don't know, let's just give it a shot. Oh wow, okay, so that's right at the end of the trigger pull. That's interesting. Let's try that again, just for fun. So let me prime this guy. This is weird, wait, hold on. Let me just do that again. I'll do it really quick. There we go. And then insert this. Chamber it. And the cork looks like it doesn't want to move. Oh, that's because these springs are in the way, right? There we go. Okay, so that looks good. And then now I'm gonna fire it again. Ah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's really good. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. That's awesome. Okay, wow. Guys, my hair's standing. I'm really excited. Undo these and then reinstall these again with 2 yellow washers. In case you are not so sure, they are deliberately designed with a kind of a knurled pattern so you don't lose them. One side at a time. I want to tighten it down proper, but I don't have the wrenches, so that's where the pliers come into play. So what I like to do is I will pinch one side and then use the other plier to tighten it. So this is my little trick in case you guys don't have access to a wrench. So I get a good grip on the back, or any one side actually, and then just rotate the other. It's quite simple. We're gonna have to install the scar and the bottom plate. And then last but not least, we're gonna have to install this whole part here and then the stock attachment, and we are done. Insert this one way. It feels like my e-tape might not fit in there. I'm having some trouble here. This is weird. Wait, am I not supposed to use e-tape? Am I supposed to use something else? Something thinner maybe? Oh no! I broke the string. I broke the guiding string. Oh man, this sucks. Now I don't have enough string to go around because that guiding string was exactly that length. I cut the extra off. Dude, what the hell? Oh man, this sucks. Okay, wait, I messed up. Oh man, I gotta restring the whole thing like that. This is gonna be so troublesome though. Okay, well, we're at a part where I think everything is going to be relatively simple and straightforward to understand. So, you know what, it's going to just stop here. But that was really disappointing. I'm just unhappy that that string there broke. So, phooey. Welcome back, and that was how it ended. That string, the guiding string, snapped. So, what could I do? Like, I felt that the blaster was not going to be complete, but I decided to just finish up the build, assemble the whole thing without the guiding string, and then I realized that it was working fine. So I actually reached out to Sling of JSPB and I spoke with him about it rather extensively, by the way, and I asked him what were the implications if I do not have the guiding strings in there, and he said that there was a higher chance of my darts getting jammed. I think that's in a situation where you're not holding a blaster upright. Like for example, if you hold a blaster upside down or sideways, or maybe if, I don't know, you're using narrower darts, I don't know. So basically that was the only, I guess, impact that would have on the blaster. So I decided to ask him what other alternatives I could use instead of that, I guess what you could call it like a waxed thin fishing line. And I said that I do have nylon fishing line, would that work? And he said that nylon fishing line would be a little bit too thick and maybe a little bit too rough on the darts. And then I said I do have some paracord, like nano cord, not micro cord, but even smaller than that. It's nano cord. It's thin, it's flat, almost like a really thin shoelace. And he said that that may be a little bit too thick as well. And I realized that, yeah, he's right. The nano cord wouldn't even slip through the first 2 slots on the back of the blaster. But then I found an alternative, and that is dental floss. Now I'm using dental floss here for the guiding string, and it's working fine. I shared with him about it, and he was laughing. We were joking that every shot would make our darts now very minty. So yeah, it's working right now, guys. I kind of rectified the situation with that. So if you guys actually read the change log in the manual for the Cyber Ninja on the JSPB website, V1.2 is because of that exact mistake. He mentioned that now for the guiding string, you don't have to make sure that it's too tight. For me, I pulled it really tight, and then that was the reason why it snapped. It snapped when I was inserting the scar barrel in. Now, since I mentioned the scar barrel, I want to let you guys know that E-tape for the scar barrel is too thick, because that was the reason why the string snapped in the first place. The E-tape was too thick, and then the abrasion and the friction, plus the fact that the string was rather tight, or it was rather taut, then, you know, it snapped that way. So just use some standard clear Scotch tape. That's fine. Just a layer is good enough, especially if you're going for the method that I did, where you actually cut slots on both lips of the scar barrel. But honestly, even if you don't go for that method, clear tape would be good enough to hold the strings in because your barrel's already in the blaster. Overall, I will say that I really enjoyed the build process, even though it was frustrating. But when I finally managed to get everything seated together, and when I finally got that problem rectified, I gotta tell you, it really feels very satisfying. I'm very proud of this thing, as with every other JSPB blaster that I've built and owned in the past. Man, the build process, the assembling process, that is really, I think, in my opinion, it's 80% of the experience of the blaster itself. And there was a small tricky part that I did not record towards the end of this build, was this part over here, getting the 3 springs for the return mech. And I find this interesting because I was watching Wallcom's video and it looks like he has only 1 single return spring, but I have 3, right? So the instruction manual on mine also shows that you should be using 3. I don't know, but that's that. Like, mine has 3, Wallcom has 1. So that's something that I also wanted to point out. And there are no instructions on how to install the front grip thing here, as well as this wrist brace stock thing. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know and are aware of that. But these 2 parts are rather self-explanatory, so I don't think you need specific instructions for that. This is one of those blasters where the more you use it, the more it breaks in, and then the thing just gets smoother and smoother, so I really enjoy that. So next I will move on into a firing demonstration. I am using a Talon mag, and it's the one and only Talon mag that I have. And just before I give you guys a firing demonstration, this is going to be the first gripe that I have. I don't like that you have to load your darts facing the opposite way. See how the notch is here for the mag lock and then your darts are facing this direction? I mean, JSPB does include some arrow stickers where you can stick it on your mag to tell you which is the direction or orientation of your darts should be in the mag, but I guess that is something, in my opinion, that is quite counterintuitive. Like, if I'm using Talon mags, I want to be able to have a universal direction for all my darts so that I could just swap mags any point of time. Like, if I have mags on me, I don't want to have mags that are dedicated to a sidearm or this particular pistol blaster, and then mags that are dedicated to, say, another blaster. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah, it's just, I guess, for convenience, you know? So that's the first thing I will say. The next thing is that I think that the mag well is quite cool, but it's not the most secure thing. Like, if I wiggle it hard enough, it actually comes out. And I don't know if it is just my Cyber Ninja, but yeah, but I must say that that is also something that could be a feature that I will point out in a short while. So let me just give you guys a quick firing demonstration. I'll be firing off a total of 6 darts, and in here are 2 silicone tip darts, 2, I guess in fact all of them are in the round tip Stefan configuration, but 2 are soft tips and then 4 are silicone tips. So yeah, you know what? I'll just fire off. Okay, maybe I won't fire off all 6. I'll just fire off 3 darts if you guys don't mind, yeah? I'll just fire it off this way, okay? Ah! Guys, first dart hit me straight here in my throat. What a fail! This is the first time it's ever happened on a video. Oh my goodness. Okay, second dart, here we go. Damn. Okay, so I'll just stop here because that's 3 with no problems. You guys can see 3 more darts left in there. So this thing is actually firing really well. I love how JSPB actually calculated the FPS of this blaster with and without the scar barrel. So when you first fire a test shot, when you're building it halfway or assembling it halfway, that's going to get you about 60-ish FPS. And the moment you install the scar barrel, it just basically almost doubles, or maybe even more than doubles the performance. So this thing's actually supposed to be firing at about 120 FPS given the spring and everything. So there are ways you can try to improve it, like for example, you know, improving the seal. Also, the seal could be affected by that rubber cork over there, but it's supposed to be hitting about 100 to 120 FPS in that realm, right? Also, it's dependent on darts. But I don't have a crony. I'm no expert in that, but I gotta tell you guys that, yeah, this thing is really performing quite well. Now, let's talk about the features of this blaster, right? There is a removable front handle grip thing here that if you don't want to, you could just completely remove it. Underneath is a set of Picatinny rails that you could attach anything else that you want to, although it's quite short. Now on the side, there are 2 very small Picatinny rail attachments as well, and I don't know what could go on here besides maybe like a sling point or maybe like a laser marker or something. Yeah, and then there are no other Picatinny rails elsewhere. The iron sights are so-so. There are a couple of sling points here as well on the front of the blaster, but these are actually really thin, so I don't know what they're used for. I think they might snap if you really want to put its weight on itself. We have a slot right here that is used to strap a shoulder strap on, where you could kind of basically pull to prime your blaster, and I'll do that for you guys in a short while. Next thing I gotta say is that I asked JSPB about this particular circular hole here and what was this about. I said, is this supposed to be, for example, a rifle sling attachment point? And he said that no, it's actually for something that he's planning to release in the future. some kind of a shoulder stock attachment or something like that. So I don't know what he has in store, and that's really exciting to hear because I think that overall this thing looks absolutely cool. The aesthetics of this blaster is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a long time, and I love the fact that he calls it a Cyber Ninja. It's really quite cyberpunkish, I should say, and it really is in the whole like techwear, streetwear kind of theme. I really love it. There's some really cool details on this blaster as well. I love the fact that he used these smooth rods. I don't know, these smooth bolts, like they're threaded at the end and then they're smooth here. So the design has this window here that exposes this smooth part of the bolt, and it gives you a little bit of bling, which I think is like the coolest thing. Now, of course, you guys could color in this area, or you could use some, I guess, vinyl tape or something really thin to add your own color if you want, but this is absolutely awesome, and I really like this. I think this is so cool. Then you have the JSPB logo embossed on the top here, as well as a Cyber Ninja marking on the front here, just below, or just behind the muzzle, I should say. And then over here, you actually have this Cyber Ninja logo that I believe was created out of a few different ninja stars or shuriken designs, so that's quite cool as well. And then you have this, I may be wrong, but I think this word is stars. I mean, I might be wrong, I'm not good at Japanese, but I can only recognize the first and the last characters, and that is su. Yeah.
Stealth.
Yeah, I mean, I like the nuances here. And that ties in really well with the little free gift he included in the pack. So this is my foam shuriken, and then you got that shuriken motif down here. I think that's actually really quite cool. And another interesting feature I want to point out is this particular slot here. Now, if you undo the screw and remove this front cap here, this is a cap actually, you get a slot that allows you to insert or pour in some sand. And I don't have sand, but if you watch the installation videos on the JSPB website, you will see that they actually poured some blackish grains or some kind of black sand in there, and then they close it up. And I asked JSPB what's the use of the sand, and they said that it's basically reduction of vibrations, or to kind of like buffer the recoil a little bit, plus reducing the overall volume by 2 decibels. That's unheard of, in my opinion, when you're creating a 3D printed blaster, but that's really cool. It reminds me of back in the day when we used to fill up the hollow spots of our blasters with FBR, just so that we could make the whole blaster feel more sturdy, less of a spring vibration, as well as muffling the sound overall a little bit. So to me, that's really cool. I actually geeked out a little bit about that. But, you know, I don't really understand the whole concept of that. I don't understand how the sand helps to do that, but it's really cool that it is a feature anyway. There is also another slot here, and I don't have a rubber plug for this. I don't know how come Wacom has a rubber plug, but there is a slot here where you can actually put in your lubricant. You could just drop it in here, and then by actuating the blaster a couple of times, you actually lube up the plunger tube, the plunger head. I have to say that I'm no expert in that sense as well, so I will link you guys to JSPB's Facebook page down in the description box below, because there was a video there that showcased this particular feature. It's not something that I would think of doing, but it allows you to basically maintain the blaster, lube it up without actually opening up the blaster. For me, I'll just get my lube and then I'll just probably use a syringe and inject it in. I think that could be one of the ways, or maybe I'll just disassemble this front part here and lube up the O-ring. But you know, whatever suits your style and whatever lube that you have on hand, just use it. Now the next feature is what I mentioned just now about the mag being a little bit too loose. So the mag release is right here. Against my middle finger, you just have to push forward and your mag release is activated. But because of this notch right here, because it kind of like tapers down or ramps down into the grip itself, but when you're actually gripping onto the blaster, your middle finger is pressing onto it, so it's kind of like adding an extra secure lock. Now let me show you the difference. If I have my hand or my palm just open like that, and then I insert the mag, I could easily just pull it out. But once I have my middle finger here, or once I grip the blaster, I should say, then this is not coming out at all. So it's like adding an extra layer of security. I don't know if he intended for that to be done. I mean, it could be a feature, which is quite cool, because you know, you don't want your mags to be coming out halfway when you're firing it, but maybe it's just a quick way of yanking out your mags. Just release the tension here and then yank it out. Change over to a new mag, put it in, and then grip it and you're good to go. I also noticed that Wacom was able to do this, where you could actually just drop the mag, what they call it, like drop mag mod, like just do this and the mag drops out. But I had to remove a couple of nubs on the yellow plate in order to do that. So when you first receive the yellow plate, you'll see that there are a few nubs that stick out. I think that that's meant to add a little bit of friction onto your mag to kind of grip it in place a little bit. I don't know. But I just removed it anyway because I really wanted to be able to, there we go, do that. And I'm afraid of dropping this on the floor, so that's why I'm catching it really quickly, guys, because it's the only mag that I have. I don't want to destroy it, right? So please pardon me. And there are some other really small, minute features and details that I really like about the blaster. Like, for example, having different shapes on either side of the blaster when you're installing parts in. Because on, I think, the right side, it is circular slots, and on the left side it is hexagonal slots, or it could be the other way around. That's really cool to have, because then it really helps with not just identifying which side goes where, but it also means that these things will sit in the desired direction, especially when you're using hexagonal slots. So I really like that a lot. The next thing I want to talk about is this chamber over here, the Rasen chamber. So as you guys can tell right now, the plunger tube is up here. When you prime the blaster, your plunger head goes back here. When you squeeze the trigger, plunger head moves forward, and the air is pushed down the front here into this Y, right? I mean, those of us who traditionally used hoppers before, we know it's kind of like a Y system, but think of it as a reverse Y system. JSPB calls this the Rasen system because inside of it, you guys saw that there are some spiral details in there. I don't know what that does. Maybe what it does is guide the air around and behind the dart so the dart can fire out. But that system itself is quite cool because the air goes back here with your dart loaded somewhere around this area, I believe, and then it just fires out. So for me, that was quite interesting. I was under the impression somehow, I don't know how that happened, but I was under the impression that the Rasen chamber would help to induce a spin on the darts. But then when I saw that this was actually using a scar barrel, then I realized, yeah, the spin is because of the scar, and most probably not because of the Rasen chamber or the Rasen system. So I don't know what that's for. Maybe it's just its own design, but it's really cool the way it works. I don't understand it completely, but I just think that it's like magic, you know, it's some kind of sorcery that he's doing. I mean, he's always been an innovator, and so every single part of this is just basically years and years of all his knowledge and his understanding and engineering and design experience put into this thing, this one final product. The biggest gripe I have is the fact that the prints aren't of the best quality. And I'm saying this as an owner of multiple JSPB blasters. I've owned two JSPB Pro V1s, I've owned a JSPB Pro V2, I've also owned a JSPB Build and Battle blaster, and all those had pretty good prints. Now, overall, if you just glance at it, the prints here are actually quite okay, but it's just that for this time, I don't know why there were so many whiskers, number one, and number two is that especially along the grip area, there are some noticeable bumps here and there. And those bumps, while they aren't sharp and they don't actually cause any discomfort, it just looks a bit strange. It's a bit like questionable what happened to the print quality. Maybe, and I don't know, I could be completely wrong, maybe it was due to, I guess, the humidity of the filament, and this is a realm that I have no knowledge about, so I don't want to make an uneducated remark about that, but I just needed to point it out to you guys that the print quality can be a little bit better. It's not the best, and in particular, it's not the best that I've seen JSPB produce so far. Another flaw, I should say, I want to call it a flaw, is the fact that he uses that rubber cork as the pusher and sealing material. I mean, I for lack of a better word, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I just feel that that seal is quite iffy. Like, it's very difficult and a little bit unforgiving if you screw up more than once. So if you screw up the first time, there is a way for you to kind of improve it. Just make sure that you're really careful when you cut up the second replacement cork, because if not, then you're basically screwed. You don't have any more replacement corks. And the truth is, you won't be able to really test that seal until you kind of at least assemble the blaster to the 80% mark. So it's going to be really troublesome for you to tweak that. There's no way for you to just change to a larger or a wider diameter O-ring, something like that. So I'm not too happy with the way that was done. I don't particularly like it. I mean, right now mine is performing fine, but I don't know if I could be getting even better performance if I was using cork with a slightly wider OD, if I had made it or cut it that way. I really don't know, and I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to have to disassemble the whole thing just so I could change that piece of cork, only to find out that maybe I screwed up. You know what I mean? So that's the second gripe. The third gripe is that I don't like the fact that he used string as a guiding system for the darts. Now, that's to basically prevent the dart from bouncing up too high out of your mag, and when the cork pushes the dart out of your mag, it basically helps to guide the dart into the chamber. So that's why, in my opinion, it's a really essential part. I want to kind of show you guys, but in this angle it's not good, so I'm going to have to take some B-roll for you guys so that you can have a better close-up. That part, I think, is a really high risk point of failure, because not only are the darts rubbing against it with every shot, but every single time that you actuate the plunger system or you actuate the chambering system, then the rubber cork and the pusher is going to be rubbing against the string. So, you know, it's just string. You know, a string against 3D printed pieces or a rubber cork, one of it's gonna go. Either the string is gonna snap, or the string is gonna be cutting into your rubber cork or cutting into the print. So yeah, I don't really like that. Maybe he just wanted to try something different, you know, but that's something that I feel the most insecure about in terms of just this blaster build. Now the next two features are things that he mentioned in his build, or his instructions I should say. The first thing is that he mentioned that after every 300 to 500 shots that you've taken, you have to re-lube the blaster. And to hear that is a little bit strange because I've never heard anyone actually say that about their blasters before. You know, it makes me think that is there a leak somewhere that makes your lube dry up or something like that? So yeah, I mean, I guess he's just making it known to everyone that you should maintain it constantly so that you can have peak performance out of this thing. But to hear that is a little bit worrying, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't think it's anything wrong on his part. And the next thing is more of a dart restriction, or I guess a disclaimer for the dart types that you should be using. Now in the manual, he has drawn out a few different dart types, but it's stated that the main dart type that is not compatible with this blaster are what looks like waffle tip darts. Now I know it's just a line drawing of it, so I'm just assuming it's waffle tip darts because it's got like some hash designs on the dart tip that he's trying to draw. So I think waffle tip darts aren't going to work very well with this blaster, maybe because the waffle tips cause too much friction with the scar barrel. I don't know, but yeah, just take note of that. Now give me a moment while I strap up this part and show you guys the demonstration of pulling your blaster, or kind of punch priming it. So I've got it strapped up now, just using the slot here that is present on the priming bar itself, and it is a really simple strap, just one that goes around your shoulder or your neck or however you want to sling your blaster, and the other end on the back here on the priming rod, I should say the priming handle. And then all you have to do now is just push forward and you will prime the blaster just like that. It's quite simple and straightforward, and I think that it's something that I'm not used to, definitely, because you see it's slipping off my shoulder. But I guess you could say that it allows you to dual wield this blaster, so you can have one on each shoulder as long as you keep it more secure. And let me just take off this shoulder strap right now. I'm not used to it and I don't feel very comfortable with it. It's just not my style. And the next thing I want to share with you about this blaster is another gripe, yet I don't think it's fair to classify it as a gripe. It could be a user thing, I don't know, but for me, this grip is just straight down. It's actually quite ergonomic when you look at the grip this way, but if you look at it this way, it's quite blockish, it's quite squarish, and this area here causes a little bit of discomfort for me when I wrap my hand around it and grip onto it. I don't know, for some reason it causes a bit of discomfort on this area of my thumb. And initially when I was using this blaster for the first day, it was really uncomfortable. It made my wrists hurt as well. Even after having the wrist brace here, I mean, okay, let's just say the wrist brace does help a little bit because, you know, you could push it against your wrist and then it would prevent you from snapping a wrist too far back. But even with or without it, I felt a certain discomfort, especially in my left hand. Not so much my priming hand, but more of the handling hand, if you know what I mean. But after a while, that discomfort went away, and I don't know if I should attribute it to the wrist brace, or is it because I just got used to firing the blaster. So for the first day, I was just thinking, should I prime it sideways or backwards or whatever? And after a while, I decided that the best way to actually prime it was to grab onto the priming bar with my priming hand, my right hand, and then push forward with my left hand or my firing hand. And I felt that that was the most comfortable way of priming it. But as I do that, and it's because I'm actually grabbing onto the priming bar this way, or the priming handle this way, when I push it forward, then the priming rod, or the plunger rod I should say, would bite into my hand. So I've kind of gotten used to just pulling and then completely releasing it. The downside is that I'm gonna have to pull the blaster back if I want to fire it again, you know. So that's something that I've gotten used to. I want to say it's kind of a gripe, but did a solution really come out because of that, or did it just kind of naturally progress into that? I can't say for sure, but I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you guys as well. So I'm actually priming the blaster like this way now, just like that. So yeah, that's how I'm doing it right now, just like that. Not so much of staying at one spot and then priming to let go to fire, because yeah, it's causing a bit of discomfort. I feel it right now. So yeah, I guess everyone will find their own comfortable way of operating this blaster, and that's my comfortable way of doing it. And with that, guys, I've come to the end of everything that I wanted to share with you about the JSPB Cyber Ninja. I've gotten this particular colorway because I love that gray and yellow. I think it looks really awesome. It looks awesomely cool. Like I really, I cannot, this thing is really, really cool. I'm not too much of a fan of pistols, and I'm not too much a fan of, you know, half-length dart only blasters, but this was way too cool to pass up, and I managed to snag one in the first wave, so the first echelon that he calls it. I totally forgot to mention about this, guys, but when I had to restring the guide, I didn't have to disassemble the blaster at all. It was a little bit tricky, I have to say, but all I did was just make sure that I kept the blaster primed so I could access the slots there. Then just ran it through inside and then just had to push it all the way front up this slot and into these screw ports over here. The difference between mine and JSPB's build versus Wacom's build, and I keep mentioning Wacom because I believe that at this point of time of recording the video, Wacom's the only other person, or the only person in fact, to have a video about the JSPB up on YouTube, right? Not from the maker. He actually has his string running out across the side to somewhere at the back of the blaster, but you could basically just cut the excess string short and then just push it back into the slot in the front, and then you have a much cleaner look, in my opinion. Not saying that yours doesn't look clean, Wacom, just, you know, in my opinion. I do find it strange that his actually has only just one retention spring. I mentioned that just now, I don't know why I'm mentioning it again, but yeah, just saying that. All in all, I spent, my goodness, I can't remember how much I spent on this. Like, it was more than 120 US dollars. I'll just put the price on screen. Full disclaimer to you guys. Not sponsored, not discounted. I got it at full price, and I must say that there are certain things that I wish could have been done a little bit better, but all in all, I'm actually really paying for the entire experience of building this thing and then getting this really awesome, cool looking end result that performs very well for what it is. Mag-fed Springer pistol with a returning priming grip and the possible option of having extra attachments in the near future. Some Picatinny rails, and overall just a small compact thing. Some of you might find that it's a bit too expensive, but I will say that if you are looking to get something that is, you know, pre-assembled and performing very well out of the box, then this is not something that you're looking for. Like I mentioned, in my opinion, 80% of the experience is building this thing. Now, all the things, the hardware and all the materials used in this particular blaster are all easily replaceable. All you have to do is just make sure you find it or source it. If you have some trouble procuring some of the hardware or some of the materials, then all you have to do is just reach out to JSPB. They are really awesome people. Ling's a really great guy. He's given me nothing but great customer service this entire time. So yeah, I vouch for him, and I vouch for the quality of the services, and I vouch for the customer service, I vouch for the blaster technology and things like that. Although yeah, like I said, this time I still won't be forgiving you for this, Ling. 希望你能了解，不是说我讨厌你，我不讨厌你，我真的是非常非常喜欢你这个作品。It's just that I think that yeah, the print quality could be a little bit better. And that is it, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking all the way through. I hope that you enjoyed the content here. I hope that you enjoyed me and this overview and this super long form video. I'm still going to call it long simply because I know that the installation part was actually quite long, much longer than what I'm used to releasing these days. But I hope that I gave you some insight. Tungsten, bro, if you're watching, I do apologize that it is not a full build, but hopefully this gives you and everyone else a little bit more information in terms of the insights and the hiccups that I faced when assembling this blaster. So yeah, hopefully you guys will learn from my mistakes as well. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. Is it worth every penny that I paid for? Yeah, it's worth every penny that I paid for. I mean, just the looks alone. Just looks alone. This thing is... And so that's it, everyone. We've come to the end of this episode. I really hope that the video quality is much better and more acceptable to all of you. I hope it's brighter, and I hope that you don't mind the mess over here especially. So yes, just always trying to improve the quality of the content being put out overall. Jules pay the bills, and teamwork makes the dream work. I'll catch y'all in the next episode. Peace. Ah.